Well, hello again. Nice to see you. I know it's been a long time, but welcome back to another episode of Technically Something, the show where we talk about technology, creativity, tutorials, and gaming. I'm your host, Kevin Allen, and this episode is all committed to video editing and film editing with Davinci Resolve. If you don't have this software yet, well then you're in luck, because Davinci Resolve is 150,000% free. Yeah, but seriously though, there is a free option of Davinci Resolve. You just scroll down to the bottom of the page and it says right there that you can use a free version. Now, they do have a pro version that you can pay for that allows you to use a lot more special effects and other editing tools that are at your disposal. However, if you're on the fence or if you're just starting out, you can get the free version and get everything that you need. This is a very powerful way to edit your videos, and it's super useful. So what are we waiting for? Let's jump right in. I'm going to show you how to use this thing. Okay guys, first thing we're going to do is open up Davinci Resolve. Now, the icon for it looks like this. Give it one clickaroo. Then we wait forever. Seriously, this takes a sec. Okay, now, first thing that we're looking at here is the Davinci Resolve Project Manager. And this is just a screen that shows all of your projects. Now, if you just installed Davinci Resolve, yours will look a bit different than mine. It's going to be blank. It might even say local database. It may say nothing. But you can actually have several different databases. If you don't see this database portion over here and you just see a blank screen, go over to where it says projects in the upper left hand corner and click this icon. It's the show hide databases icon. Voila. So once you're in here, I'm not going to do anything to my current database. This has like all of my Technically Something episodes, but I can go to new database. And here you have a couple options at the top. You can either connect to a database. So this is one that already exists. That's not going to be for you because you're probably creating a new one. So go to create, keep it on disk, and then you're going to name it. It won't let you do caps or spaces, so you'll have to put it all together. Honestly, I would just name it My Projects. Next, you're going to click on the location, and this will open up a finder or a directory for all of your files. Now, on the computers that you're using, if you have more than one disk to go to, that's great. Choose the one that has more room. If you happen to be in my class, you're going to go with the C drive for this next step. It's different than me because my computer has more space on the D drive. But again, if you're in my class, go to the C drive on the lab computer. Click New Folder, and we will call this, again, My Projects. Once you're done with that, I double click into it and select folder. It'll confirm this by saying the drive, in my case D, followed by My Projects. All you have to do at that point is click create. This will take 1 second just to get it all set up. So in here, it'll say My Projects, and on the right, we see nothing in here except for Untitled Project. So this is your very first project, so you'll double click it to open up Davinci Resolve, and here we go. All right, so I want to familiarize you with what I have set up here and what all of this stuff means. First off, you have all of these different sections at the bottom of the window. First up, you have Media, then Edit, Fusion, Color, Fairlight, and Deliver. What we're going to be mainly working in is Media, Editing, and Delivery for this tutorial. There will be other tutorials I have with Fusion and Color down the road, but for this we're just getting started, so we're sticking to the basics. Now, before we can create anything, we need to have media. Before this video, I went ahead and downloaded just some CC0 videos from a really cool website called Pixel or Pexel.com. And that's not it. It's pexels.com, so plural. Here, you could search up whatever you're looking for. Obviously, there's a lot of holidays stuff up still because Christmas and New Year's. But if I type in, I don't know, let's just try soccer. Then you get all of these different images, and these are CC0 images, but we want videos. So you click on videos, and here you can get a bunch of previews. Oh yeah, kick it! That was a good kick. So I went ahead and downloaded a couple videos from Pexels already. And what we do in the media section of Resolve is we click where we want to go, wherever those images, videos, and other content are saved. In my case, I saved them again to my D drive. You might have saved them somewhere else, desktop, C drive, whatever makes sense for you. And let me just dig down here. It's technically something. Episodes and Davinci Resolve for beginners, video clips. All right, so here I have 9 videos that I downloaded. I'm gonna highlight all 9 of these, drag and drop them into my media pool, and it's gonna ask me if I want to change the frame rate so that they match up to my Davinci Resolve file. I would go ahead and do it. Most of the default settings in Resolve are good to go. And for the purposes of this tutorial, we don't have to worry too much about it. So change. And there we go. We have all of our video files that we downloaded in our media pool. I'm going to take a step back, and now I'm going to go to my audio folder that I made earlier. And here I have just a few things. I have some background music and a swoosh sound effect. And I also have one PNG that I saved into my images folder, and I can drag and drop this. So pretty much make sure that you have all of your content files ready to go, whether you filmed yourself or you downloaded some videos and music and sounds and stuff. Also include any logos, titles, pictures, whatever you may want. And then you're just gonna drag and drop all of those files into your media pool. Now, we're gonna go back to our editing window. So once I'm back in the editing window, you can see now that I have my media pool filled up with all of those files that I just dragged and dropped into the media pool. And now they're showing up here in editing. What I need to do is figure out which clip I want to show first. In this case, I'm gonna go with this person playing games. To play your video, all you have to do is click the space bar and it'll start playing. You'll see a live preview up here of what's happening, and also you have a scrubber going along the clip here. If I hit space again, that'll stop it. I can also grab this and scrub left and right wherever I want on this clip. You'll notice that there's no sound because underneath it, this green portion is connected to our audio and it shows no sound going through it. So what I'm gonna do is click on it and see how both light up. That's because they are joined together, they're linked. So if I right click, right here at the bottom it says link clips and it's checked. So if I click that, they're unlinked. So now I can click back on this sound clip and I can hit backspace. And that gets rid of it. There's a reason you don't want to hit delete, and we'll get to that soon. What I'm going to do is drag all of these clips and put them in the order that I want to see them, and then we'll get to the next step. I'm going to speed this part up though. Okay, one other important thing to remember is that you can actually stack multiple videos, images on top of each other so that you can have different overlaying effects. So I dropped my logo right here on top of the last clip. So if I scrub here and then move this over, you can see that my logo is on top above the keyboard. And we'll get back to what I plan on doing with that in just a moment. But I want to rewind and go back here. As I said earlier, you can tell if a sound clip doesn't have any sound because nothing's showing up in that green little bar. So if you look here, there are little bars, little sound waves showing up here. And if I play, just by hitting spacebar after I click here, but if you don't want that sound in there, again, you just have to unlink the clips, select it, hit backspace. That's pretty much it. So we have all of our clips lined up. All I need to do now is drag in the music that I want, which is going to go into the audio bar, and I'll put it down here. Same thing, I'm going to have this swoosh come in at the same time as my logo. Some of these clips are pretty long, and we might need to cut them and edit the length that we have for each section. So, for instance, if I just start this right now, kind of a long time to just stare at this dude playing a game, right? What we can do is bring it back to the start and then just play it, and when you feel that it's time for that clip to be done, just hit the space bar again. So I'm going to do this. And that's it. I feel like it should only show that much of the clip. So if I want to cut it, I'm going to go to this blade edit mode icon, which is right here. When I click this, if I click on the video clip right where our scrubber line is, it'll actually make a cut and separate this portion of that clip. So I don't want the rest of that. So all I'm going to do, remember how earlier I said don't click on delete? That's because if I hit delete now, watch what happens to all of the other clips that come after it. They scoot all the way over right up against where the last cut was. That's what happens if you hit delete. Now I'm going to take a step back. If I click backspace, nothing happens. It leaves that space in there. So depending on what you're trying to do while you edit, that could be helpful for you to know or use. So I want everything to butt up right against where I cut it, so I'm going to hit delete. Okay, and now I'll play the next part. Okay, and I can feel the music. It's about to drop. We're about to start getting that bass beat going. So I feel like that's a good place to cut this portion. Get the mouse, click on the portion we don't want, hit delete, and then play again. Again, paused it, cut, select the part we don't want, delete. Now, I noticed as soon as I stopped it, the little kid on here just was like, hit, like he was about to take it off. That seems like a weird place to leave it hanging, so I'm gonna actually go back just a few notches. Now, if I don't wanna click or zoom in, because I could zoom in using the slider over here, or zoom out, but I know that it's really close, so if you use the arrow keys, you can actually go left or right on your clip. So right now I'm just clicking, and see, I want his hand to be out of the picture, like he's still looking up. That's where I'm gonna cut it. So I cut, get rid of this portion. We have another section here, but we have a new challenge because this image is now it's a vertical image on a horizontal plane. So we have black space on the left and right side of the video clip, which doesn't look very good. What we need to do is edit the attributes of this clip. So you're going to click on that clip, see how it's highlighted, and over here in the inspector you have all sorts of things that you can change about this clip, including the zoom, position, rotation angle, anchor points, pitch, yaw, flip, all this stuff. And it doesn't stop there. You can crop it, you can do scaling, lens correction, and that's before we even touch the special effects and transitions and stuff. So for now, I'm going to zoom in. So if I just hover my mouse over this X And see how they're linked together? That's what this icon means, is that if I move one, the other is going to change as well. So I'm going to drag this to the right and increase this zoom size until it fills up our stage area. And now we don't have black showing on either side of that clip. But also, I want to make a transition. I want it to show the Japanese neon that's above him and then sort of tilt down until we see him. What I can do is also drag the Y position to the left, and this will drag this down until I have that in the picture. The next challenge here is adding transitions, or having different keyframes so that it actually travels while it plays. I'm going to click at the very beginning of this clip while it's highlighted, and I can now click here. And if I hover over it, it doesn't necessarily give you a name, but this indicates that you're about to create a keyframe. So when I click this now, it means that the position of the X and Y is supposed to be this number, okay? But if I scrub this over, so let's play, and I'm gonna pretend that it's moving down. I'm gonna visualize that while it's playing. So I want it to go down, and I want it to cut there. So I know that by the time I cut, it should be lower. So if I grab the Y now, and I scrub until we get down towards our guy here, you'll see now that it's red. That's because I changed it from this position to this position. So now when I play, but that seems like a really awkward place to leave it hanging. So I'm gonna remember, I'm actually gonna mark this spot, and then I'm gonna go back to our previous position, and I don't want it anymore. So all I have to do is click this red keyframe point, and now that's gone. But also, that's a really long time. So if I click play now, that drags on forever. So I'm just gonna move this back a few seconds and then butt it up against here and do the same thing. Make a keyframe, drag the Y position where I want it, and then hit play and see if it's better. A little bit better. The timing, the pacing could use some work, but it's better. So we get this here, and I'd say maybe just 3 notches over. 1, 2, 3, and I'm gonna cut this here, delete, and now I can butt up the rest of this stuff to where I was here. I don't know why I chose this guy. Now that I look at it, it's super creepy. We're gonna ignore that. But I'm gonna cut this right here so that Billy's not just staring us down like he's gonna stalk us for the rest of our lives. And we'll move on to the next frame. Another good spot to cut. Get rid of the rest. Then we have our keyboard. And the logo, which comes in. But this last part's kind of boring. It just shows a keyboard, so I'm going to do the same trick I did before. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to change the X location. And I'm going to make that a keyframe. And the logo appears for this long, and I want it to cut out right about there. So let me move the swoosh over. Get rid of the rest here. And on this last portion, I can't see the frame anymore because it's now gone. So if I hit left arrow key just once, we can see the keyboard. Now I'm going to create my next keyframe. Move the X position over so that we get a panning effect. And now let's see this one more time. almost finished. Let's cut our audio at the end of where the logo is, get rid of that. All right, so now we have everything organized. We have the sound and clips cut down exactly to how we want them to be in terms of timing, but it's still really rough. We have hard cuts from every single clip to the next. So we're gonna add transitions now. And where we go for this is on the left, you have your toolbox. You can expand this to see video, audio, transitions, titles, generators, all sorts of stuff. We're just gonna go to the video transitions. And right here, I'm gonna use cross dissolve. First thing I'm gonna do is put this, I want this to transition between our racing game thing at the beginning and the soundboard that comes in the second. But if I try to hover these over each other, it doesn't allow me to fade between them. And there's a reason for that. So I'm gonna put this back. So see how I can grab both, and as I go to the right, it won't let me go any further to the left because our next clip, that's literally where it starts. So there's nothing that comes before that, so we can't transition through it. So I'm gonna scrub this just a little bit to the right. And now if I try and use the cross dissolve, it'll actually go between them. So I just drop that there. Let's try again. And see, we have the same problem here because, again, this is where one clip starts. So we have to move it over just a little bit. Then we can use cross dissolve between both. Now these two, I believe, yeah, same thing. So move it over, cross dissolve. And this one, we cut out a bunch of that guy sitting at the couch underneath the Japanese neon because we wanted to get rid of that time in the beginning. So there's plenty of space well before. So we don't have to worry about moving or scrubbing this one in every direction. We can just use the cross dissolve and it works fine. Now we have our super creepy guy just staring at us smiling. Let's do a dissolve there. And one between these two. And last but not least, we'll do another dissolve between the keyboard and the lady. And up here, we could do a cross dissolve, but I want to show you what certain dissolves look like. So we'll see the crossfade, but I'm going to use a blur dissolve, and I'm just going to put one at the beginning and at the end. I also am going to use a blur dissolve at the end of our keyboard. Drop it there. And then we have our music. Now you could go to the audio transitions and just say crossfade 0 dB and put that at the end. That's fine if you want to do that. Another way to do this really quick, there's this white notch. If you're hovering over the sound, there's a white notch at the end. You can click that and drag it over, and this will actually drop the volume until it fades out. Another way to control this, because this swoosh sound was kind of intense, is you can click the line that's running through these and drag them down to change the volume. So I just want the swoosh to be there, but not like at the very start of this. I don't want it to necessarily just be like bam, like an image is there. I want it to kind of fade in as well. So I'm going to fade the music in and go to video transitions and use a blur dissolve at the very beginning. So let's take a quick look at what all of this looks like together with dissolves and transitions added. Pretty quick edit. One last thing that I want to do, it's kind of hard to see the title here because of that background, but I know that if we blurred it a little bit, that would help quite a bit. So on this last keyboard clip, I'm gonna go over to my effects. And if you go to open effects, right here near the top, we have all these different blurs. So I'm just going to go with Gaussian blur, and I will drag and drop this onto that clip. And over here on our inspector, open effects now shows up, and you can see that it already blurred it just a little bit. And I don't necessarily want it to be blurred the whole time. So I'll go to the beginning of that clip, go to open effects, and see we have Gaussian blur, but I'm going to set the Gaussian blur to 0 at the start. But remember, if we're telling it to change, we have to click the keyframe dot over here. So now we've indicated, okay, we want it to be sharp at the beginning. But right when it gets to here, right when the logo is about to show up, I want it to transition over time to become more blurry. So I'm going to just gradually make this more blurry. That's pretty good. So now let's take a look at what that does. A little bit easier to read the text. Small little change, but worthwhile if you're trying to read the logo. We're at the last portion. Everything is edited. It's very quick, and this was very easy. It's just like a little commercial sort of thing. But we need to save it. So always make sure to save a lot more often than I have just now in this. Go to File and Save Project. It's going to ask you, since it's the first time, what to name this. I'm going to call it My Commercial. Save. It'll take just a sec. Okay. Now, if we want to save this in a version that we can actually share on the web, upload to YouTube, or send in an email, anything like that, we need to actually deliver it. We need to export it and render it, more importantly. So I'm going to go to the Deliver tab, and here it's going to show you a preview of everything that's going on. We need to name this file, so I'll name it My Commercial. Location, let's browse. And this is important. Make sure that you browse to a folder that you're familiar with. I'm going to go back to, let's see, My Projects. And here, I'm just going to save My Commercial under My Projects, because that's the folder that I created. So we'll save this here. The rest of the information down here, it asks you what sort of format you want, what codec. For the purposes of this tutorial, not going to worry about it. Just save it as a QuickTime. It'll work out perfectly. Everything here on its standard is fine. So I'm going to add to render queue. Now we see My Commercial timeline 1 in the render queue. And we're not done yet. You have to actually start the render. Okay, so it's going to actively show us a preview while it's rendering it. And you can see the percentage of how much has been rendered. It's already at almost 40%. And that's because this video is about a minute long, maybe less, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it's almost 30 seconds long. So this is quick to render. If you have a short film or something that's 15 minutes, it's going to take a while to render. So make sure that you prepare accordingly. If you know that you're going to be rendering, and if it's, say, like if you're in class and you need to render, then make sure that like you get all this stuff edited and ready to go. And if it's towards the end of a class period, wait until the next class if you have the time. And just say, okay, we're going to render tomorrow, because that'll probably take all class period. If you're at home doing this on your own time, I mean, hey, it's free time. Just make sure that no one else is going to be using your computer, and give it time to render and do it appropriately without any interruptions. Make sure your computer's plugged in and the usual stuff. So this is already completed, and it says completed in 24 seconds. That's good. So we can close this out. And just to make sure, I'm going to minimize Resolve, go to my folder here, go to my projects, and right there, the commercial is showing up. If I go to the properties, it shows up as a move file, so .move. And I'm just going to double click it to make sure everything works. And it looks like it is. We got sound, we got video. Easy as that. So, once you're finished with all of this stuff, it's already been rendered. I always just make sure, because I'm that kind of person, I'm gonna hit Control S one more time to make sure that the project is saved, and then you're finished. You can close out of Resolve, and you're good to go. You just completed your very first video on Davinci Resolve. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is an introduction to using Davinci Resolve. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and more importantly, I hope it kind of helps you see how some of these tools work. Again, this is just an intro. You could go much more in depth, but this will at least give you a starting place where you can start playing around with some other effects, color correcting, speeding up or slowing down clips. There's a whole bunch of things that you can do with this program starting off in the free version of the software. In the next video that I make, I'm going to try and give you an in-depth look at how I actually create my own videos and the whole process behind that. Resolve will be involved with this process, but I'm also going to be showing you even the timing and what I do for when I record myself with the camera, where my microphone goes, my lighting setup. And that way, if you're thinking about making your own YouTube channel or getting started, this can at least help you get off on the right foot, but that's for next time. I'm Kevin Allen, and this was Technically Something. See you guys later.